What's that like? What's going on out there, people? Hey, it's another exciting edition of the What's That Like podcast. I'm your host, John Knowles, here to bring you an exciting guest, Pete Visintin of Fight the Fight. Certainly an organization that many of you in the central Illinois area are aware of. Done tremendous things for a number of individuals and their families in a time of incredible need, and just does everything he can to help out those folks. He's got a wonderful story about how the organization started and what he's done since then. You're going to love what you've got to hear from Pete. Not only is he doing Fight the Fight, he's got McCoupin CEO. We'll talk about that, a wonderful program he does for area high school juniors and seniors to give them a leg up in the business world. He talks about his entrepreneurship, his vlogging. And we talk a lot about just personal branding and personal conduct, personal standards, what social media means, how it can build up your brand, how it can maybe destroy your brand if you're not careful with some of the things you do and say and act online as well. So lots of good life lessons from Pete to do that. With me on the show today is actually my first guest that I ever had on the podcast, Bobby Krug. Many of you know Bob produces a lot of the show for me as well. He does some video work. He takes all the audio after I've posted it as a podcast. He actually puts it out on YouTube as well. I know a lot of folks, they know how to use YouTube, so that's how they take the show in when they want to hear it. But Bob and Pete go back a number of years. Pete had actually been an interview subject on Bobby's vlog. And Bobby, and when he found out that I was having Pete on the show, he's like, I'd love to co-host it with you. I said, absolutely. And certainly this is a direction his career will take him. And, you know, as this is not a profit center for me to have the podcast. It's really there to help all of you out as listeners, bring a platform to interesting people like Pete. And it's there to help a guy like Bobby out as well as he prepares for a career in this industry. For me, many of you, if you're listening for the first time, podcast is free. It's never going to cost you a thing. I don't have any sponsorships. This is something I do. I fund myself. I do it as a hobby because I like it. I listen to a lot of podcasts as I commute back and forth to work. And I was like, this is something I could probably do myself. But what does this area need? And it needed a voice. And it needed a voice to bring the most interesting people, places, events, things that are going on in the central Illinois area that maybe in a long form we can get some of these folks to talk about it. In the past, we've had Bobby, like I said, he's a go-kart racer down at Gateway International Raceway. We've had Jason Kramer from Staunton, who at 47 years old, he's ran his 13th Boston Marathon. We tell his story. I've got Emily Schneider, a Mont Olive girl as well, who wants to be on Saturday Night Live. She's taking classes at the Second City. I've got Tim Boostrom, a fellow from Muscuda, Illinois, who went to Cubs baseball fantasy camp. We've got so many Cub fans in the area. Wonder what it would be like to go to Cubs fantasy camp, and Tim tells you all about that. We've had Zach Weigel from Hillsboro. He runs Stamp Out Cancer. He's a big part of Imagine Hillsboro and the summer concert series over there and the things that he does in that community. Tremendous story as well to hear from Zach. And then last week we had Kaylin Chardon, a ghost hunter. She runs Haunted Carlinville, also does tours out of Alton, Illinois for a company named American Hauntings. Tremendous story as well. So just in the list of things that you've heard there, you can see the breadth of different characters and that I've had on the show. They're all interesting. They're all great people. They've all had a great story to tell. I hope you all find it as entertaining to listen to as I find it entertaining to bring it to you. That's what the podcast is for. It's for you, the people. If you've got ideas, thoughts, potential guests for the show, things to promote yourself, let me know. Drop me a line at the What's That Like podcast page on Facebook. There you'll find it. Like the page. You'll get all the show notes. You'll get upcoming episodes, a way to contact with me and the folks in the community, and I'd appreciate you doing that as well. The show's always on iTunes. You'll find it on SoundCloud, Stitcher. Bobby puts it on YouTube and on his ATA Network channel. There's always places to find it, and you'll get all that information all the time on the What's That Like podcast page on Facebook. So without further ado, Pete Visintin, running Fight the Fight, Macoupin County CEO, vlogger, What's all that like? So tell me about young Pete Visintin.
Yeah, so I grew up in Gillespie, graduated from Gillespie High School in 2003, played sports all my life, came from a hard-working middle-class family like most of the people around here. Did what I was supposed to, went through college and high school, got the grades, studied hard, but that's pretty much all I did, study and play basketball. And when I graduated from college with a general business degree, I figured out that I was screwed. I mean, life slapped me straight in the face.
Yeah.
After I walked across the stage and got my diploma, I was not ready because I never did anything outside of my comfort zone to get prepared for the professional world. So when I got done with college from 2008 to 2012, that was a really rough time in my life, and it should have been one of the best times in my life.
Let's go back a second now, Pete. In high school, you said you played sports. Basketball, any other sports?
I played a lot of sports when I was young. By the time I graduated my senior year, basketball was the only one I played and cared about.
Okay. And then you went to, you mentioned college. Where did you go to college?
I went my first year to Illinois College to play basketball, and then I decided I didn't want all those student loan debts coming out, so then I transferred to SIU Edwardsville. Graduated from there with my bachelor's in business administration, then my master's in business administration, my MBA a year later.
Well, what was different the moment you walked across that stage that you said slapped you right in the face?
The real world's a jungle compared to college. College, everybody, you have a set plan. You go to class, study, get the grades, and you're successful. The real world don't work like that. I had no professional contacts. I had no relevant business experience. And, I was just out there in a general business degree. The biggest problem was I had no direction. I did not know what I wanted to do. And if you're going into business, you've got to have a concrete direction. That's something that you want to do in mind before you get out, because that degree is good, but it's not your golden ticket to success at all.
So you got out of college what year?
2008, I graduated with my MBA.
So what happened? What happened after that?
After that, I struggled along for the next 4 years, bouncing around from temp job to temp job, had a part-time job, just never really got traction anywhere, found any type of real direction I wanted to go. Then in July of 2012, my dad got diagnosed with brain cancer out of the blue.
Okay.
So we were going through that whole process. That was my trigger. That was when my switch got flipped, and I decided to start my own business, and I found my direction instantly.
And that business is?
It's called Fight the Fight, and it's a not-for-profit clothing line that I run out of my house in Gillespie.
Okay. So 2012.
Summer 2012.
And you started Fight the Fight. Your dad, I actually knew your dad. I know your dad. You might not remember this. I've met you. You were probably, I don't know, however old you were in 2001 or 2. I actually came to your house one time and bought a radio control airplane from your dad.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember walking into the basement, and you were bouncing around or whatever. And I remember walking into your dad's kind of room, not unlike this.
Yep.
But there's just a lot of
his little man cave room
stuff.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, all these years later, I was building this room out, and I'm like, I want a room like that Pete Visintin had.
Yeah.
So you started that in honor of your father. Really, it motivated you to get this going. Tell me about Fight the company. What's it all about?
It's a nonprofit organization. So we sell clothes to raise money to give to people to help pay large medical bills. The reason that I started it was when we were in the hospital with my dad. Through the whole diagnosis and treatment process, I started noticing all the other people around us in the ICU and in the hospital. They weren't as fortunate as we were to have a lot of family there and, to be set up where we could be there every day to visit. Because me and my wife drove an hour each way for 40 days straight when he was in the hospital. And I looked around at the other people, and I knew they weren't as fortunate. And I wanted to come up with a way to just show up with a check to help them out. They could use it for whatever they wanted, whether it's food, lodging, or the actual medical expenses themselves.
So the tagline of Fight the Fight is...
It's clothing that inspires.
Yeah, and it really does. And is there a story behind the logo itself?
Yeah, definitely. So I knew that I wanted to have a business and a clothing line that was a brand and not a charity, looked at as a brand and not a charity. So I wanted it to be cool and not so much the cause, because the cause will only get you so far with the marketing environment there is today. It's got to be cool. People have to want the product. So right from the very beginning, I wanted a logo that was cool and a name that was cool, but told the story of the brand. So one day we're on the way home from the hospital in the car. Me and my wife are trying to think of names that reflect what we're trying to do. And she just blurted out, Fight the Fight. And I said, that's it. We're going to FTF. We're going to go with that. And then the rest of the way home, I thought about the logo and what I wanted and all the different elements of it. And by the time 30 minutes later we got home, I ran inside, got a pad of paper, and sketched it all out right away. Got it out of my head right away, and that was it. So the cross in the middle represents the doctors and nurses that we felt like were the angels on our shoulders. So do the wings. And then the shield represents the protection from financial worry and stress so we can offer people. And then the double Fs represent the brand. So it has meaning, but it also looks cool.
It does look cool.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, if you're in Central Illinois, you immediately know what that is. I mean, I've got friends here in Mount Olive that, I mean, probably you're some of your best customers.
Yeah.
Their entire wardrobe seems like they have it. So if you're not rocking the fight, then I don't know what you're doing here in Central Illinois.
I don't know either, John. I really don't know either, John. It's a win-win because you're not only going to look good, but you support a great cause at the same time you do it. So we donate more than 50% of the proceeds from every single purchase to the people that we help out. We donate to 2 people a month, either the 1st to the 15th or the 16th or the last day of the month. More than 50% of the proceeds from all the sales during that time period go to those people. We've donated over $78,000 so far.
And you do this, it's on the web under, you call it their story, right? It's like so-and-so's story.
Yeah.
And you tell the story of that person. And then, of course, social media can take over, personal stories can take over. And that's what's helping spread the word during that, say, 15-day period, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm 100% focused. Oh, I'll say 95% focused on online marketing, building the business online. So I just think that's the competitive environment that we're in today. This is not like it was 10 years ago. Now with all the social media, there's thousands and thousands of clothing brands out there. There's not just a few at the top than everybody else. There's a huge amount of clothing brands.
You thought of this in 2012.
Yeah.
So when did you make your first sale?
July 2012 is when I came up with the idea. August 2012 is when we made our first sales, and it was at an outdoor show, the Fall Festival in Beneld, which we're making our return to this year after a couple of years off. But right then, when the first event, we sold out of every single shirt, and I knew that we had something right there.
It's been essentially then 5 years, give or take, right?
Coming up on 5 years.
How many families, people have you helped, affected?
60.
60.
Yep. 60, and it'll be 24 a year for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And do you have a total on how much money you've raised for these folks?
Yeah, it's over $78,000 so far.
$78,000.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember you coming on my radar through Facebook, and it had everything to do. You were trying to get a commercial in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Tell me about that story, that journey.
Yes. I think that was 3 years ago. So Intuit, the company who owns QuickBooks, had a contest, and I believe that was 2014. And they had a contest. You could win a 30-second spot in the Super Bowl paid for by them, and it was based on fan voting to get through the first rounds. Well, out of tens of thousands of submissions, we were number 2 in the voting. The only organization to beat us was the organization in Colorado that wanted to legalize marijuana. They were the only ones that got more votes than us.
That's not fair.
Yeah,
that's not fair, is it, Bob?
No, that's
not fair.
Yeah, it's just not fair. But that whole process was great, going for something crazy like that. We sent in promotional videos. We had everybody on the internet voting. They got just the process got us so much visibility.
Yeah,
it was great, and we didn't end up getting. We got past the first round, but not past the second, because the second round was based on a panel decision from inside the company. And I'm thinking because of our nonprofit status, that's the main reason why we didn't get it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's been going for 5 years. What does it look like in the next 5? I mean, as you want to grow this brand, grow this business, grow this effort that you've got.
Yeah.
What's your goals with it?
My goal right now, I have only one goal, and I want to get to 108 items sold per day online.
Okay.
That's my number one goal, because if we hit that goal, we'll be able to donate right around $1,000 per week, $52,000 a year. Once I hit that, I think we'll be at a point where I'll be able to look at maybe opening up a retail facility in the area.
Okay.
So,
and you talk about 108 items
yep.
per day.
Yep.
How many items do you have? I mean, it's not just T-shirts.
T-shirts is the base of it. Yeah, it's T-shirts, a few accessories, water bottles, shorts, that type of thing. But it's all apparel-based items. Yeah.
Hoodies.
Yeah.
Caps.
Hoodies, hats, water bottles, keychains, bracelets.
And I'll wrap it up, I'm sure, at the end for everyone. But tell us how people find it.
Yeah, the number one thing that you could do to find or follow FTF, go to fightthefightclothing.com and sign up for our email newsletter. You'll get 15% off your first purchase. We send out 2 emails a week. One email is detailing all the new products that we're releasing every week. The second email details all of our motivational content that we put out for a week. We don't ever spam people, and we're really focused on email marketing right now. So we think that's a great way to reach people.
And your clothing, on top of, donating it to families in need like that, you're also promoting different causes. I know you guys got the shirts that for law enforcement and firefighters and stuff like that. Are you looking to do more clothing inspired by that to promote those causes?
Yes, absolutely. We're looking to do a lot more themed designs. Mainly right now, my designs are based off motivational quotes, because I just think that ties in with our brand and our designs really, really well. But occasionally we will have something that cross promotes over 2 different groups, like the police, the blue line shirts, or the firemen, the yellow line shirts. Yeah.
You mentioned thousands of clothiers online, thousands of brands of apparel. What makes Fight the Fight different?
Right. So I chose to go into the apparel industry. And if you look at the state of the apparel industry right now, and you look at the big players like Polo, Nike, these big ones, they're all dying slow deaths to the thousands of micro brands like mine that are coming up. So they're dying a death of 1,000 cuts, right? So if you have a micro brand in a crowded industry, whether it's clothing or whatever, the whole key is to stand out. Create a brand that stands out. You have to create a brand. Without a brand, you just have shirts, and everybody has access to the same materials basically in every industry. And the way to get your materials to stand out, you got to have a brand.
In the 5 years you've been doing this, how many designs have you come up with?
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds. Yeah. Right now we're in a rhythm coming out with 1 new design on 2 different shirts every single week.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot.
Yeah.
Almost all of them that have been successful are quote based.
Yeah. So that's a good question I've got to follow up then. What in your experience have you done that goes, this one works, this one doesn't?
Sometimes it's a quote, sometimes it's the shirt, the color, the material or something. You just have to kind of go by the market. So what I've learned to do is not order a bunch of them up front, order a small quantity, test it, and then if it works, do a reorder.
What colors do not work?
White.
What colors always work?
Black.
What are some of the ones in between?
Teals are really popular, like teal and turquoise
are
really popular now. So teal, turquoise, anything that's like weathered or worn, finished looking, that's what works.
That's awesome.
Burnout.
I always thought the material that you used was the best.
From the start, premium material has been my MO.
Pete, how do you market this? I mean, you mentioned you've got an email distribution list. What are you doing beyond just emails to do this? And what have you done to grow it to where it's at today?
Right. So we have almost 15,000 followers across our social media platforms. And here's the secret. And this is what a lot of local business owners don't understand. In order to grow a following, grow a customer base like that, you have to give value without the expectation of anything in return. So social media and email marketing is not all about asking for the sale. It's giving people something that's valuable. In my case, that's content, whether it's written word or video or audio like this, that motivates or inspires people to do something in their life.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about, Facebook, Twitter, Insta. You're hitting all three of those platforms in different ways, I guess. What makes Facebook marketing different than, say, Twitter or Instagram?
All the platforms, you need to create your content on a different way. For each different types of content work differently on each platform. Facebook, Instagram, and email are the only three that I focus on. I have a Twitter account and a Pinterest account, but it's Facebook, email, and Instagram just because of the nature of my business. Other businesses like you, it might be SoundCloud or iTunes marketing or stuff like that. It's different for everybody. Mm-hmm. But for local businesses, especially if you're a brick and mortar, if you have something to sell, you need to be on Facebook because that's where the customers are. That's where the people in our towns are at.
Right.
Yeah.
You talk about the brick and mortar thing. Been my contention for the last couple of years that it's overhead expense that it's sad to say, but you probably just don't need.
Yeah. Okay. I think with the brick and mortar in our towns, the reason that it's failing so much, people are doing it backwards. People are buying the building first before they've built a business. We need to reverse that whole mode of thinking. We need to build the business first out of your house. Mm-hmm. Then once you build it up big enough to where you can safely afford a retail space, then you go get it. Then you revamp the building. Then you bring back Main Street. But if you do it in the reverse, you take in all the risk up front without a customer base. Now, it does work out for some people, but for most people, it doesn't.
Okay. So everything you're saying, Pete, really blends into the other thing that you've been ramping up with, and it's an organization called Macoupin CEO. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Tell me about that organization and what it's about.
So I have two jobs. I do Fight the Fight half the day, and I do Macoupin County CEO program half the day. I'm the facilitator for the program, so I'm the one in the classroom with the students. What CEO is, it's a cross between school and the real business world. So students in CEO have to actually start their own business and run a business, an event business as a group. And then they walk out before they graduate high school with all this business experience and all these business contacts that's really valuable to them. So the two marry very well. They complement each other extremely well because I'm teaching the kids in CEO what I'm doing in my business.
Did you start this organization?
No.
Okay.
So there's 50 other CEO programs throughout the Midwest, and it keeps growing. It's based out of Effingham, Illinois.
Okay.
It's accredited. So the students get credit through the high schools and credit through college for taking it.
How did you get involved?
The board recruited me. The CEO board of directors recruited me for the position of facilitator. And at first, I didn't want to pay attention to them. I was running my own business. I didn't think that I would ever be focused on anything else besides growing FTF. I didn't want to be in education. I didn't want to be a teacher. But the more that they told me about it and the more I researched about it, the more I liked about it because it's real. We're in the classroom, but they have to start a business for real dollars and cents, real consequences. It's not a game. And also, my wife and I decided that if I could use the skills and the experience that I gained over the past couple of years in FTF to help students in our local area, which we live in Gillespie, and I care about this area very much, that's something I needed to do.
How long has it been going on now in Macoupin County?
This was the first year from Macoupin County that we just wrapped up.
Okay.
We had 15 students go through the program from 6 different school districts around the county. Next year, we're going to have 7 of the 8 school districts involved, and we'll have 18 students come through it.
And this is something that they leave whatever school they're at, and they come to...
It's their first hour class in the morning.
And where do they travel to do this?
All different places throughout the county. This year, we met in Gillespie in a conference room the whole year. Next year, we're probably going to meet in Carlinville for the first quarter, and then I'm going to look at how that goes and make a decision.
So you did it just past year. Mm-hmm. What are some of the businesses that were born?
Yep. So some of the highlighted businesses that were born, we had a kid who started his own nutritional supplement business. So he's selling nutritional supplements, and he made a lot of money before the end of the school year, and he's still continuing it now. And now he's trying to transition that into a gym. Some of the other ones, we had a girl who had a lot of success with custom vinyl stickers. Just the whole customization thing is huge right now. We had a custom fashion line or upcycling clothing, lawn service, cake pops. One that was really cool. Bobby, you might think this is cool. We had a kid whose business was 3D printing. He bought a 3D printer. Now, he won the lottery because right at the end of the school year, what happened? Fidget spinners.
Oh, yeah.
He can print fidget spinners. So
That's profitable.
He hit the fidget spinner boom. Yeah.
Bob, you'd have loved this program if you'd have been in high school.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because like they have like a lot of programs where you go, to Lincoln Land and Litchfield and you do stuff, but it's like, civilization, history, stuff like that. But with a program like that gears to almost anybody that's wanting to go in the business, industry like that. And you get, like you said, real life experience, you get the credit and stuff like that. So yeah, I would have been all for that, but 1 year too late.
1 year too late. When these kids started, how does that work from a business aspect? I mean, are they registering this? Are they getting a patent? Or, I mean, what could it be?
Some of them.
Yeah.
It's an environment where we make it safe for them to fail, but it's still real. So if they want to continue it, then yes, we'll help them set up their LLC or their corporation or however they want to do it. But they kind of just get to launch it and try something and see how it goes.
You said real dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Where does the startup funding come from? Themselves?
Yes, they self-fund it. They have to run a business as a class, and so that most of the time that takes the form of a live event, and they take the money from that. They have to pitch bankers to get a certain amount of that for their startup expenses for their individual businesses the second semester.
Okay. So this is like The Apprentice, but real life.
Yeah.
And with a cooler host. Is that right?
Yeah. I don't fire anybody. Yeah.
What else would we want to know about Macoupin CEO?
Macoupin CEO, the goal of the program is there's two goals, transformation and preparation. So transformation, these guys walk in as normal high school students on the first day. Throughout the year, we not only do they have to run a business as a class and start a business individually, but we also bring in 30 to 40 guest speakers, so business education leaders from around the area, and take them to actually visit 30 to 40 businesses and see how they work from the inside. So with all that, when they walk out on the last day, they're transformed into a seasoned business pro, and they have this big network of professional contacts and all this relevant business experience to put on their resume. They have way more business experience coming out of high school than I had coming out of college.
Awesome. Do they have to be a senior to get in?
Junior or senior.
Junior or senior.
Yep.
And if there's someone listening that's got a kid, or even the kid themselves that's listening here, how would they get into this program?
Every year, I do a recruiting visit at all the schools in the county. Then after the recruiting visit, they have to go get an application for their counselor, fill it out, and turn it back in. So it's very similar to applying for college and getting accepted for college.
Is it limited to the number?
Yeah, 18 or 19 is our top limit that we can take.
Okay.
Just because there's so much involved from me.
Is it so many per school?
No, it's 19 total from the whole county. So it's not guaranteed that we're going to have a student from every school in it every year. It's just the top 19 applications get in. And the application process, it's totally blind. So the people that evaluate them don't know the applicant's name or the school where they're from.
I got to imagine, and I'll say this as a parent I've got one daughter that's halfway through college. I've got another son that's going into high school.
Yeah.
And I will say this, the biggest problem even I have as a parent is I want to do this for my kid and help them.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like a program where mom and dad are helping them do this to get them through it.
No way. They got to do it themselves. A lot of them, it's way, way outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But when they graduate, they're glad that they did it. Going through the year, it's like we have to drag them through, but eventually it catches on and they realize toward the end of their senior year, oh crap, this is almost over. I'm going to have to go out here and make my own way. Yeah. I'm glad I did this.
So you said they put a live event on. What did they do?
They chose to do a trivia night and a gun raffle this year. And they did it in the dead of winter, and we did it right between two ice storms. So they kind of lucked out because everything else was canceled and they didn't cancel. So more people came than we expected. But I will say, it's not for everybody. It takes the right student, the right mindset. You have to be very forward thinking, kind of an old soul to do this.
Yeah. Do they have to have an idea as part of the application process?
No, I help them with their idea, and we basically figure out what they're passionate about, what they like to do, and then I kind of help them formulate a business idea around that.
Well, yeah, you got to like what you're doing before you can be passionate about it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want them to hate coming to CEO every day. I want them to be doing something that they like and enjoy.
So, Pete, let's transition once again. Entrepreneurship. You're vlogging now. Pete, the person, where are you taking all this? How? Tell me about all the other things you've got going on now.
You know what? I don't really know. I dipped my toe into the world of vlogging to see how it was. And what I discovered is it's really hard. So and I think being able to edit video and produce good video is a really valuable skill in the world. But I just want to use, my own personal brand, social media accounts and website as a way to experiment to help get best practices to grow FTF. So, and I think that we're in an interesting time right now, interesting time period, because it's cool to be an entrepreneur. It's not as looked down upon as it was in the past, but I think it's also a lot more difficult to be an entrepreneur.
When you talk about vlogging, we have the most prolific vlogger I know right next to me here, my producer.
That's a bold statement. That's a really bold statement.
But Bob, I mean, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, you've been doing this for a while, growing this really out of your bedroom.
Yeah, well, like I started in 2014, and it's kind of just like my way of going back and looking on my own things, because like my memory isn't the best. So it's kind of like cool to go back, vlog prom or whatever back in the day and be like, oh, that was cool. I remember, doing that with my friends and whatnot. And then I keep it going now and vlog other people's proms so they can, see what's going on. But like, with what me and Pete do, it's like when we're talking to the camera and telling our stories and, providing motivation or doing whatever, you have to have a really strong personality to stand out from the crowd. You can't be, just boring talking to a camera and okay, so today I'm getting ready to eat my cereal, and you have to make it cool and enjoyable. So it's a very difficult thing to get into and be very successful at. So
what's the toughest part of it?
I'll tell you right now, the toughest part of it, it's scary because you have to put yourself, you're totally naked, you're totally out there when you put yourself out there in a vlog like that. But to go back to something I said earlier about you have to have content to grow your following other than selling stuff. Okay. And so what is that content going to be? What can guys like me and Bobby, what do we have? All we have is our personal story. So our vlog is a way to share that personal story. And by sharing that and by letting other people see what we're going through, that's how you motivate people and inspire people and build a following. So I don't ever try to talk about stuff that I'm not already doing or trying myself.
And the other like scary thing is too, kind of along the lines of what he's saying, is like, I know a lot of the first feedback I got on my vlog was negative. Like that's always something that's going to hit you hard. And then like, you have people coming to me like, hey, Bobby, you making a video? Bobby, you making a video? And it gets kind of annoying. But then like there was one guy that came up to me and he was like, oh, Bobby, I watched your vlog. And I was talking about how, exporting videos, editing videos, and how my computer's running at full speed all the time and it's hot in my room. And he's like, I'm surprised to hear that your room got hot. I mean, it makes sense and everything like that. And I was like, oh, you saw that vlog? And it's kind of like weird, but at the same time, it's like you're making connections with people that you've never seen before, and, they're getting something out of it. So.
Well, I can attest to that. I mean, this podcast, it's new, and it's still finding its audience. But I think what you're telling me is, and I can totally relate to, is you never know who's watching, in your case, listening in mine. I'll see... All I can see is who liked the page on Facebook. I can't tell you who downloaded it. I can't tell you who streamed it. I see numbers, but then I'll be walking in. I was walking into church a couple weeks ago, and the pastor's wife goes, "Oh, John, pastor's been listening to your radio show." And I'm like, "Oh crap, what did I say?" And I'm going, "Okay, well, I keep it clean. I'm not too worried about it." I would have never known that. People that are young, I've got kids that play on my baseball team. They're listening to it. I've got my 72-year-old father-in-law going, "Hey, I listened to your last episode. It was really good." You never know who's watching just because they don't always just click like.
Yeah. To add to what Bobby said, in the beginning, negative feedback crushes your soul. It is hard to get past that.
Yeah.
But all of us are walking, talking personal brands, whether we want to or not. We are. That's just the way it is. So a vlog is a way to create a personal brand, whether you do it under the guise of your business or just your own personal persona. And creating a good personal brand is the same thing as creating a good reputation, but on steroids.
Exactly.
So creating a personal brand and doing that other stuff is what got me this interview. It's what got me my job with CEO. It's what gets people to ask me to come speak, which in turn gets people to follow Fight the Fight. And the cycle continues, and it's a snowball. So it's scary, but if you're willing to do it and step out of your comfort zone, you could have something.
Well, I think you're going at it 180 degrees different than what most people's personal brand becomes online.
Yeah.
Most people, they do something stupid on video that they live to regret.
Yeah.
You guys are trying to use it to go, like as I said, 180 degrees the other way to build that personal brand. I have this discussion with my own kids. It's like, don't say anything. Don't say anything stupid. Don't put anything out there. You don't want to live forever, because it will. How many times do we have to see this really in the media where something negative somebody did even years and years ago comes back to bite them in the negative way, and their brand is tarnished by that?
Yes. If you're in any kind of leadership position at all, whether you're a teacher at school or you're the head of an organization like I am, or you're the face of the podcast like you are, the face of the vlog like Bobby is, you are always on. People are always looking at you, always judging you. So if you mess up, that's going to hurt your personal brand. So you really have to be careful about what you say, what you do. And also, you want to be a good person. So you want to make success by building the biggest tower, not by tearing all the other buildings down around you. And I think something like a vlog or a podcast or a blog, putting yourself out there on the internet, it only is going to amplify what's already there inside you. It's not going to diminish what's there at all.
So Pete, I've heard your story. It wasn't there on a platter for you. You weren't born with this on third base to just drive it home. No. As you tell me this, you haven't gone home yet, in the baseball metaphor. You had to get the single, you're stealing second, you're coming around second base now.
Yep.
What advice do you have for those young people that are still up to bat today?
If you're young and you don't know what you want to do, my best advice is to try as much as possible. Try as many things as possible until you hit on something, because it will take a lot less tries and failures than you think to hit on something. Mm-hmm. Because you'll naturally, after the first one, you'll naturally gravitate towards something that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, honestly, obviously, I should say, not honestly, obviously, you didn't find your path till probably the worst event you ever experienced.
Yeah.
It came to you, right?
Yeah, definitely. That was my trigger. And I always want that for my CEO students and for anybody who follows this podcast or listening to this. Let this episode of us talking, let this be your trigger to go get out of your comfort zone and try something. You don't have to sit back and just take what the world gives you. You can go outside your comfort zone, take what you want.
Awesome. Well, Pete, I do this thing on the podcast. I mean, this is about education. It's about fun. I always say this podcast is about the most interesting people, places, events, things in Central Illinois. And one of the things I like to do is have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
And I ask 5 questions of every guest. So let's get to know Pete a little bit more here. What was your first job?
My first job was... The first fact about that is it was ridiculous, because my first job was not until my junior year, second semester of college, my very first job, which was a huge mistake not working for that. But it was not a good gig. I was making car cleaning chemicals in an unair conditioned warehouse down in South Rock, Santa, and it was not what I wanted to do with my life. It's
motivation to find something else. Yeah.
But I will say that job, I learned more in that 6 months I did that job than I probably learned my entire college career in business school.
You mentioned that, and personal story for me. It's not here, but I have a copper cup that sits on my desk at work. And I made that copper cup. I got out of college much like you. I have a degree in criminal justice. I've never put a badge on in my life.
Yeah.
Found a different path, just a whole nother thing. But that copper cup, I made these with a big machine. A feed of metal comes in, pounds this cup up, and it makes this cup, and they later turned them into fuel injectors for Caterpillar tractors.
Yeah.
When I left, I went to my boss. I worked there for 2 years, and I was taking a job in the insurance industry, just getting out of the manufacturing and going toward the insurance industry. And I asked my boss, I go, can I have one of these? He goes, I don't care. Take it with you. But you had to clear it before you could walk out the front gate. It's 20-something years later. That cup sits on my desk every single day. I keep paper clips in it.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody asks me what that is, I say, that's the reason I'm having a better day than I did 20 years ago in that job.
Yeah.
Anytime I think I've got a bad day where I work now, I look at that cup and go, I got it pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Interesting story, kind of a parallel there.
Yeah, definitely.
What CD is in your car right now?
Right now, I don't have any CDs in my car, but I listen to Spotify a lot, and John Legend.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've got to change the question. You're probably the fourth guest in a row I asked that question of a CD, and they go, I don't really listen to CDs.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I right now, I'm hooked on John Legend, The Weeknd, but when I'm in my car, that's Spotify, when I'm in my car, I listen to Sirius Radio, the 90s channel, because I'm a 90s kid.
Yeah.
So every time I hear those 90s songs, it just brings me back.
What's your favorite song from the 90s?
I just told my wife this the other day. It's not a well-known song, but it's from the New Radicals. I don't remember what the name of the song is, but they're a one-hit wonder, so they only had one hit song by the New Radicals. But for some reason, that song just immediately transports me back in time to those good old days.
You know what? I think you've inspired me to replace the CD question. I'm going to replace it with this question, and you're going to be the first person that gets asked it. So you get 6 questions, not 5.
Yeah.
What's the one song you love, you'll find yourself singing, that you wouldn't want anyone to know you knew all the words to?
Oh my God. Yeah, man. Oh, I got a good answer for this.
Yeah.
It's Let It Go from the movie Frozen.
There you go. Not a good answer.
2-year-old daughter.
Yeah, there you go. Tell us. Bob, what would yours be?
Oh, probably Baby Got Back.
Baby Got Back?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, mine would
Because
be...
I'd be, prom, Valentine's dance, whatever. I'd be that guy that's just like rapping and, going ham. Everyone's like, what's Bobby's issue? What does he have? And it's like,
mine, I don't think yours is so embarrassing now. Mine was Bop by Hanson.
Yeah.
All right. What's the app on your phone you'd be most embarrassed by as well? Is there a silly game you play or?
No, none.
None?
I am super efficient with my time. I have
Yeah.
no entertainment apps on my phone at all.
All right. So Pete's kind of boring, I
Yeah.
guess. But with that question, let's move on.
Yep.
Pete, what TV show would Pete Visintin be a character on? Now, you're not replacing somebody. You're not going to like step in and be somebody.
Yeah.
But there's a show that you like or whatever you wish Pete was on the show. What show would that be?
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
No question. Me and my wife love Seinfeld.
Yeah.
We watch it every night. And
Would you be one of the core 4 or would you just be one of the guys that like they bump into like Kenny Bania every now and then?
I always tell Liz I would be Jerry on the show, but she always tells me no, I would be Kramer. So I don't know.
I don't know. And when you were growing up, what was the favorite Christmas gift you ever got?
Oh, man. Oh, okay. When I was growing up, favorite Christmas gift I ever got was an 80cc Kawasaki dirt bike.
Yeah.
It was hot pink and white, and it was wrapped in a giant box outside my grandma and grandpa's house, and I somehow walked within 2 feet of it going in the house and didn't see it. We got it home the next day. I got on it and drove it straight into my neighbor's fence and never wanted to get on it again. We went and traded it for a go-kart. But I will tell you, and here's another story that goes along with that. You mentioned my dad earlier and all his hobbies. My dad 2 days ago got what would have been the Mac Daddy Christmas gift of all time in my childhood.
Uh-huh.
It's a golf cart that looks like a 1965 red Mustang raised up on regular tires.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Pete, where can we find you online? Where are all the sites that people can keep up with you?
The best place to find me is fightthefightclothing.com and get on my email list. You can also find us facebook.com/helpfightthefight, instagram.com/fightthefight, and then my vlog, just search my name, Pete Visintin, on YouTube.
On YouTube? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, Pete, I want to thank you certainly for coming over. Yeah. Anything else we haven't talked about?
I think that during this time that we're in with entrepreneurship, everybody has a shot. Everybody can get in the game. Editors don't control us anymore. We all have these platforms. We can broadcast our messages and our causes and our businesses to the world. So I think it's the best time ever to be a small business owner. And if you're not happy, if you're just not happy, not fulfilled, not satisfied with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, it's within your power to change that. You just have to do it a little bit at a time, just like I did. I would stay up all night building this up to get to the point now where I have some traction. And eventually I was able to quit my job and to get us into a little bit better situation as a family because of it, and able to help a lot of people along the way.
That's awesome. Pete, truly an inspiration. I know so many people that just think the world of you. Yeah. You were one of the first people when I was putting this podcast together. You were one of the first names I wrote down as somebody I had to get in here. So thank you very much for coming over to the glorious Studio 312 here in my garage and knocking this thing out for me today.
Yes,
tremendous thanks.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. And as I said before we came on the air, I think you got something here. I think you got a knack for this, and I think this is going to be big. And I'm glad that I could be on it in the beginning stages.
Well, you're always welcome to come back. So I think, really from a standpoint, thank you for the compliment. But really, as you're building out CEO, wouldn't it be a nice thing to do to bring some of these guys back and give them a platform?
I would love to.
Yeah, I think that's something we should do coming in the next school year.
Yeah,
absolutely. Bob, any parting words that you've got for Pete or any questions?
I thought the podcast went great. I think you hit on a lot of key points that people are going to look forward to hearing on entrepreneurship and your business and how you got your start. And, I think it's also a great thing. I want to say personally that, you're going and doing the CEO thing and you had a rough start yourself. So you're giving back to the community in a sense for doing that. And I appreciate seeing that and glad to have you on and talk to you again. So
yeah, Bobby also is the one who has guided me through this journey of vlogging.
I believe that. So. Yeah. He's helped me get started too. Bob, you're the inspiration for both of us. How about that? Did you realize that?
Yeah, and when I take over the What's That Like podcast, when I take over Fight the Fight Clothing, just know that's why.
Yeah. Well, Pete, thanks a lot for coming on, and I can't thank you enough for coming over today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Wow, Pete Visintin, great guest. So proud that I was able to get him here on the What's That Like podcast. Certainly something that I was targeting, as I said in the opening, to get Pete on here. I think he's one of the true difference makers in our area today. And it's certainly, I'll call it a coup to get him here on the What's That Like podcast in kind of its early stages. So thanks again, Pete. Really appreciate you coming on. For all of you out there, again, fightthefightclothing.com. If you go there and sign up for his email list, you get 15% off your first order. You can always follow him on Facebook as well. Just search for Fight the Fight on Facebook and give him a like, and you'll catch up on everything he's doing. Lots of great designs he's coming out with, all the different things. It's always new. It's always fun. And it truly is a cool brand here, and it certainly represents the central Illinois area as well. I want to thank Bobby for coming on and co-hosting and everything he does for me. Once again, thanks, Bob. And then also, I promised Greg Shively I'd have him on the podcast this week, but sorry, buddy, I did run out of time. Just didn't get a chance to call you and get you on here. So maybe next time we'll get you. That being said, that's the podcast for this week. Next week, we're going to have the folks from Turner Hall. I've got Gabe and Kara Dexheimer and Todd Overby. And we're going to be talking about the things they've got going on at Turner Hall here in Mount Olive, the Queen of Hearts drawing, and certainly the Mount Olive homecoming that's coming up on Father's Day weekend here in Mount Olive. Until then, see you later. Peace out. What's That Like is available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Search for What's That Like? Subscribe today and never miss an episode. Streaming is available at SoundCloud.com and on the SoundCloud app. Follow What's That Like at Facebook.com/What's That Like Podcast and on Twitter at What's That Like Pod. All opinions of the guests of the What's That Like podcast are their own, not necessarily the views of the host or the podcast producers. We hope you enjoy this podcast serving Central Illinois and beyond. Peace out!